Hey guys, and welcome back. This week we are going to jump into one of the most culturally known stories, one of the more religiously significant stories in Western culture. We are going to jump into Adam and Eve. We're going to jump into Eden. We're going to jump into the fruit of knowledge of good and evil, original sin, all that good stuff. And with a story like this, though, that is so significant, I believe that it is important for us to find a way to relate to the story that is beneficial rather than damaging. The story of Adam and Eve, and specifically the apple, is a story that has caused a lot of turmoil for individuals. It is something that is always surrounded with a little bit of mystery, always surrounded with a little bit of confusion and contemplation. I mean, it's how the Bible starts. It's a big story. It's a big deal, you know. And so I think it's important to take something like that and be able to, in your own world, in your own spiritual relationship, in your own spiritual journey, be able to relate with this message in a way that is beneficial for you spiritually and you as a person, rather than just hearing it and seeing its symbolism in pop culture and, you know, knowing it but not really thinking about what it is, because there's a purpose for its significance in our culture. Okay? That being said, I know that this is a significant story to a lot of people. And this isn't me telling you what to believe. This is just a interpretation of it. This is just going to be me telling the story again in a way that resonates to me in my spiritual journey, and in a way that I think might be beneficial to at least hear and at least listen to. If you resonate with it, wonderful. If you don't resonate with it, wonderful. Because either way, whether you do or you don't, in your own world, you'll get a little bit closer to your truth with the story and how you personally relate to it. So it's a win-win-win, right? So let's get to it, right? Shall we? Let's start at Genesis 1:1, the very beginning of the Bible. You know, in the beginning, suitably said, you know, God created the heavens and the earth. And so we have this segment of the story where God takes 7 days and he creates the earth. He creates the earth, he creates the land masses, the oceans, he separates night from day, he gives us the seed-bearing plants and the animals of land, sea, and sky, and presumably he creates the universe in these 7 days, okay? And whether you look at that creation in literally 7 days, 7 biblical days, or if you adhere to the evolutionary story or the millions and billions of years processes, either way you cut that, the fact that this happened is amazing. It is absolutely mind-blowing that elements from creation, or somehow all of these different forces came together in a way that not only produced a sphere floating through outer space around a sun, but also produced a sphere that is pregnant with the capacity for life, and also has been touched in a way that is able to express that life. We live on an expression of life in the middle of a barren solar system, or what we presume to be a barren solar system. And we live here. It happened. It did happen, and it's pretty good. Just like in the Bible, it says, and it was good. He ain't lying at that point. I'll tell you that. It is really good. And so we have Eden, which is just the perfection of this creation. It is all systems working in harmony, all air, water, fire, earth, all of the plants, all of the animals, everything living in its own rhythm, everything in harmony with one another. Melodies, all of those good musical terms, everything is happening on earth to produce a harmonious life cycle. And then humans get introduced into the story. What's cool about the story is when humans come into it, it's a very different scenario than what we find today. Today, when humans enter into a natural area, there's a lot of discord and a lot of chaos, and we'll get to a little bit of that. But when Adam and Eve come into this story, they're aware that it's perfect. They're aware that it's beautiful. I think one thing that sets humans apart is our ability for appreciation. Because whether you look at it as evolution of humanoid looking things until you get the human Homo sapiens that we are today, or if you look at it as from the ash came Adam and from Adam came Eve, it doesn't really matter. Humans are amazing creatures that do seem different than the other life forms on this earth. And I know that that's said from a human's perspective, but humans have the ability to appreciate what's going on in front of them. We have the ability to perceive our life rather than just live it. We have the ability to have commentary. We don't just take in data. We don't just hear a bird chirping and say, that is a bird chirping. We hear a bird chirping and we're able to say, that is a beautiful song today. That is a beautiful song today. And so humans have this capacity of awe and wonder and inspiration and emotion that adds weight and adds to the experience of living a life. And in the beginning parts of Adam and Eve's story, they're aware that they're living in harmony. They were given dominion over the plant-bearing seeds and the animals of all the animals, and they're able to live in a way that cares for and nurtures and watches over these life forms in a way where now those life forms are able to give back to them. And so you have this harmonious relationship between human beings and the rest of life on Earth. And I just think I love that, honestly. There's passages where they're saying, and Adam and Eve know that they're walking in harmony, they're walking alongside God. And once again, if you see God as a singular figure, as a personification, as a person or an individual in that presence, or if you look at God as just the expression of life in that moment, God's hand is in the air, it's in the earth, it's in the wind, it's in the grass, it's in the people themselves. And these people are aware of being in God's presence. They know that it's happening. They are aware of it. They appreciate it. They are in harmony with God's creation. Okay? So we have this Eden. We have this perfection. We have this perfect world that was created out of the mysteries of life. And we have these two humans that are created to live alongside and in harmony with this mysterious expression of divine beauty. So we have Adam and Eve living in the Garden of Eden. Perfection. And then we come to the climax of the story. We come to the fruit. We come to the part where God says, all right, y'all. You have a lot of stuff going on right now. You have a lot of things here that are beautiful, and I'm glad that you can see that they're beautiful. But that tree over there, that tree of good and evil, the knowledge of good and evil, leave that alone. You don't need that fruit. You don't need that in this. Just trust me. You're better off without it. And humans get tempted like we do. We are created in the image and likeness of God, and sometimes we push that to extremes. We try to prove that we're divine rather than just living in harmonious with our natures and living in harmony with the divinity around us. We try to show that we're strong, or we try to show that we're important, or in this case, we try and show that we're capable of something, of understanding something that God says, you don't need to know that. You don't need that in your story. But we're tempted. And we do give in this story. In this story, we do give in to that. So we ingest the fruit of good and evil. And what does that mean? And I know that this is a subject of debate, I would assume, and of interpretation. But let's say, for the sake of it, that this fruit contains God's understanding of the word good and God's understanding of the word evil. Inside this fruit is God's knowledge of good and evil, which go in extremes that humans cannot comprehend. We do not have the capacity to understand the extent of God's context. We don't have it. When God created the earth, he said, and it is good. He knows it was good. But if a human saw a black, dark, swirling circle in the middle of outer space, we'd probably be like, meh, it's okay. So we don't really understand God's context for good and evil, but in this moment we ingest this fruit. We take it into our systems. We try to get nourished by it and get sustained or fueled from this dichotomy, from this good versus bad. And what we did in that moment is we not only took in this knowledge, and now we know there is a good way and there is a bad way, and we still have no true context to figure out really how to judge it, but we did do just that. We took on the responsibility of judge. We took on the responsibility of criticizer, of shamer, of congratulator, of teacher. We took on a responsibility that was not meant for us. We didn't know it. We didn't have the capacity to understand the extremes that this comes with. But so we did it. And we are still trying to figure out what to do with that. You look around today and you see a lot of people fighting over what is right and over what is wrong. You see a lot of people doing what you could say are terrible things and making a profit off of it, which is contradictory. We took on the responsibility of creating what it means to be good and creating what it means to be bad in a human context. But you cannot hold God to your own opinion. You cannot hold God to your standards. You can't put God in your box. It's too big. It's just too big. And yet we still see humans struggling with this. We still see people struggling with this and adding God to their argument to try and make it seem right. And really, that's just never been our job. You've never had to convince God what is right or what is good and what is evil. God knows. God planted the fruit. He knows what's in it. So that happens, right? And then we have this scene where, Adam and Eve get exiled. Or they first get shameful of their nakedness and their vulnerability and just who they are. Because I think they see themselves as small. I think they're immediately humbled. And that's something that people struggle with too, is like, you live in a magnificently beautiful place. The water you drink and the food you eat and the clothes you wear and the car you drive and the house you live in, everything provided to you is provided from this earth. Everything beautiful to you is provided from Eden, essentially. And when you realize that there is a way to be bad here, immediately we are like, oh, I'm really small. Am I worthy of this? I feel small. I feel naked. I feel vulnerable. And that's just us being dramatically humbled. And you don't need to be that small. Being self-deprecating and being humble are not the same thing. And that's speaking to myself on that one, I think. So we get this scene, though, where, Adam and Eve are exiled from it. But I don't want... And I don't believe that there is a physical garden in Mesopotamia or that the garden is up in the sky or, I don't believe that when thy kingdom comes, that there will be a kingdom that falls onto earth. I don't believe that. I don't believe humans ever physically left Eden. I don't think that our hearts ever left Eden. I think that our minds did. I think our perception did. I think instead of hearing a bird chirp and appreciating it, we now have to decide, is that pretty sound or is that an ugly sound? Is that a crow or is that a meadowlark? Do I enjoy this? Do I not? Is it good? Is it bad? Am I good? Am I bad? Are they good? Are they bad? And we have constantly been ripped up from life to try and decide if it's a good one or not. We're constantly displaced. We're constantly displaced trying to decide whether or not we should be placed in that moment or in that relationship, if we should care for them, if we should run from them, if we should take the job, is it good for me, is it bad for me, is it good for me, is it bad for me? And with all those questions, you forget to even listen to the bird. You forget to even touch the grass, you forget to even hug your friends. Because we get lost in our own story minds and our own storytelling. I think there's something significant with this. It's a big burden to have a mind that can see life happen. It's a very big responsibility to have a mind that is capable of discerning healthy versus unhealthy actions, capable of discerning selfish versus self-included or Unitarian thoughts, love versus hate. We are capable of these judgments in a small capacity, but we run with them a little bit too far. We really took a big bite out of this apple. It wasn't just a nibble. We took a chomp. out of this. And I think that maybe it was before we were ready. But at the same time, no. To whom much is given, much is expected. And we were given a mind and a body and a heart and a world and a planet in Eden. We were given life. That's much. That is being given much. We have so much here, and we have the most beautiful capacity to still do what Adam and Eve did before the apple, which is to live in harmony here, to live in sync here, to live in a way that is nurturing onto life, to be then nurtured back by life. Eden didn't leave, and we didn't leave Eden. Eden's right here, and it's just below your judgments. It's just outside of your fears. It's just above your shame. It's just outside of your mind. It's just actually below your mind and your rib cage, probably. But that's just a guess. And I just wanted to, I wanted to say this. I wanted to say this out loud. I wanted to put it out there. Because when you realize that to go home, or to try and find thy kingdom which is coming, you don't need to die. You don't need to die. You don't need to go to the next life. You don't need to pray a certain way. You just need to look. You just need to tell your mind, okay, just quiet for a second, okay? Let me listen to this bird. Let me watch the sky. Let me hug my friend. And let me mean it. Let me appreciate it. Let me be in harmony with it, It's all right there, man. It's all right here. And that is the heart of the matter. I love you guys very much. And yeah, I'll talk to you soon.